Live from Town Square Towers at the heart of the Jersey Shore. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. Get up, get out, do something. Join the conversation. 732-505-1160. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Listen online at WOBMAM.com.
Good morning. You are listening to Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. I am Kelly Fliller, sitting alongside Tara Cunningham. It is 7:07 a.m., 20 degrees. And we are joined now by Pat Donahue, the Executive Director and co-founder of People's Pantry. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
You survived the storm.
Survived the storm. Yes, I did.
Well, Pat, it's so great to have you here on the radio because you're a bit of a hero to quite a few people. But before we start on why you're a hero, would you tell us the story of how People's Pantry began and go all the way to the muffin?
Okay. The muffin story. Well, we began as a way to distribute all of the products that came in from across the country and around the world for the victims of Sandy. It was begun by the school district, of which I was a part of as the president of the Special Ed PTA. 3 weeks in, when school reopened and all of the teachers needed to get back to work, it was the management of the pantry was handed over to the PTA. We started to grow exponentially. We moved into a 20,000 square foot facility where it was probably the first full-on complete resource center for everything Sandy. I was the first organization to bring in AmeriCorps. They were commissioned to me, and I had mental health on the floor and Habitat for Humanity and case management. It was a single spot where people could go to get everything from food and clothing and volunteer effort and mental health, everything. Eventually, what began as a way to serve the families from the Toms River Regional Schools who were affected, it grew to handle all of the families, and, everyone who was affected from Sandy in Toms River. And then our boundaries grew, and we slowly became all of Ocean County. As other community partners came forward and were up and running, we realized that we were replicating service. So we started to eliminate things like furniture and clothing because there were other organizations that could handle that. We narrowed our focus down to food, and we still had mental health and case management with us, and AmeriCorps was still with us. Jersey Cares came in with us. But then something remarkable happened. Remarkable, not in a good way. I started to notice that there were people coming in who were not necessarily taking a direct impact from flood waters, and they were in need of food. And we had to correct our sales, as it were, to become a full-on emergency food distribution center, where now we have 31,000 Ocean County residents registered, and we feed between 7,000 and 9,000 Ocean County residents a month. Not necessarily, well, at this point in time, it's hard to say they're not Sandy affected because our economy is so bad. Probably made worse by Sandy, definitely made worse by Sandy. Now, the muffin story, that was the turning point at the pantry. What was happening is people were coming in and making donations, and they were saying, I want to give this to a Sandy family, or this is to go to a Sandy victim. And a young woman came in, and somebody had donated corn muffins. And she was she was poor, and she was in need, and she wanted muffins. She wanted those muffins, and I heard one of the volunteers say, "No, I'm sorry, that's for Sandy victims." And it was at that point that I called out from the back of the 20,000 square foot facility, "Just give her the muffins." And that's when we opened up the doors to anyone and everyone who was in need. And it was no longer, you didn't get a different level of service if you were Sandy victims. Everyone got treated with the same respect and regard.
And
so that's the story.
This is, there are so many beautiful pieces in what you're talking about here. Firstly, the fact that you were the head of the special ed PTA.
Yes.
The second piece is that you were the distribution center, and after a few weeks, you realized that you were duplicating services, and
right.
You found the niche that you could help in, and you gave away the other pieces to people who could do it better. And if more nonprofits thought like that, we would have a much, much more effective system in the nonprofit world. So you're quite visionary, Pat, considering that you literally landed into this. And the other piece that I love of your story is that people that were trying to help, here's muffins for Sandy victims. And
right.
By taking their donation and saying this is where it has to go, actually hurt people in the long run. And
Absolutely.
So we have these things in the nonprofit world called restricted funds and unrestricted funds. And
right.
By giving the cupcakes or the muffins just to Sandy victims, that means it's a restricted fund. But what's the point of having a restricted fund when there's someone who could really use it? So that muffin story is so important for many, many reasons. I know over at Ocean County College, this is going off to the side here, there is a scholarship there for piano. You must be a piano major to get this scholarship. There's no program for that anymore. In the 70s there was, but not anymore. So there's this money tied up in a restricted fund that nobody can use. So when people give money to you, Pat, and I really urge people to put their hands in their pockets and help the People's Pantry, it would be very good if they didn't restrict those funds, that use that money. We trust you, Pat. Use the money to help people. What are the needs that you have? What kind of need do you have that the people of our listening community in Ocean and Monmouth can reach out and help you with?
Well, our need, we are, first of all, it bears repeating it for people who don't know. Emergency food distribution isn't just a part of our mission. It is our entire mission. We are what's known as a supermarket-style client choice food pantry. We found that this is a more dignified way, and people are more apt to come for help if they're not treated as if they were a burden. We are blessed within the fact that every day, within the course of a month, we will bring in 10,000 pounds of donated food just from the community. So food sometimes is an issue, but our most pressing issue is, and will always be, financial, because we have to keep the doors open. Gone are the days of free rent.
Yeah.
We have to keep our doors open and our electricity on. So our biggest need is financial. Everyone knows that the pantry's been in the news, and we garnered some very high-profile partners about 2 years ago. We're in the process of building out a resource center right now that will, it kind of looks like the model that I developed for Sandy recovery, but it's everything food insecurity. And we're going through that building process right now. And a lot of people tend to think that we're okay financially, but we're a baby organization. We just filed our first 990, and you know what that takes. We just went through our first audit. So we're our first certified audit, which, P.S., we got flying colors. So now we can go and start applying for grants and everything. Up until now, we've survived. We've gotten a couple of big grants, but we've survived on the kindness of this community. We have, things like the people like that who $25 a month standard. But that's what our biggest need is.
Here, Pat, hold on. We are going to go on a commercial break right now. We'd love for you to talk about the dignified way and manner in which you hold your volunteers with your clients. So please hold on for a little while. If you have any questions, you can reach us on 732-505-1160. Keep listening on 1160 and 1310 AM or follow us on WOBM AM. Talk to you shortly.
Get more Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin at our website, WOBMAM.com. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Now, back to Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310 and WOBMAM.com.
When are we on?
Good morning, everyone.
I just asked the question, when are we on? We just got a visitor from the Point, and I'm not going to throw him under the bus right now, but he's of a shorter stature, and I said to him, I don't know how you do this every morning. And he goes, I used to be 6 foot tall when I started.
I think at this point, Tara and I are a little delirious, so.
And so we're so glad we have Pat Donahue on because she can handle delirious. So, Pat, I would love for people who haven't had the chance to go to the People's Pantry, can you describe what it's like for someone who goes in for the first time? Because I remember you telling me that coming up to those doors for the first time when you actually need food is one of the hardest things a person can do. So for someone who's standing on that line right now, who's I need the help, but I just can't face it. Can you talk about how you're different?
Well, I'd like to think we're different in a million ways, but primarily what it is 85%, if not more, of our client base are, and people need to understand this, these are middle-class working people who just at the end of the month or in between paychecks just can't bridge that gap and put food on their table. So they feel in many ways like failure. What we do differently is we bring people in and their first visit, they'll sit down with one of my intake counselors. And they'll fill out their application just so we have that in the system. And they'll answer some questions. And it's amazing to see that these people will just open up and explain to us how and why they ended up in a food pantry. After that, they will work with one of my volunteers, and they'll shop. They'll do as if they're in a grocery store. They get to pick what they want. They know what their family's like. And they'll pick their food. And as I said, these are middle-class working people. So the industry standard for food pantries is 3 meals, 3 days. And it doesn't matter if you've got 2 people in your family or 10. The amounts that are given usually are standard. We do things a little bit differently. Our people aren't home for lunch, so I don't really worry too much about if there's something in the house for lunch. I try to give anywhere from, depending on my stock, anywhere from 7 to 10 dinners. And the amounts are based on their family size. So they get to pick what they want. They are treated with the utmost respect. And it doesn't matter if they live on the water or in a hotel. Everyone gets treated the same way because to need food is the most basic connection we all have. And to be in need of food is the most demeaning thing to some people. And my mission is to help them rise up, not to keep them down. And we have developed a huge, huge family. Our clients, we know their names. We know their kids. We know their story. And as they walk through the pantry and they pick the products that they know that their children like or their mother likes, they feel connected to the organization. And more often than not, they will come and volunteer.
Wonderful. Pat, will you hang on with us for the last commercial break here? And we'd love to hear a little bit more about this. Well, give us a call on 732-505-1160, 1160 and 1310 AM. WOBM AM. Talk to you shortly.
Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Live from the Jersey Shore to the world. Get up, get out, do something. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. Take the show wherever you go. Download the free Radio Pup app for your smartphone or tablet. Join the conversation. 732-505-1160. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Listen online at WOBMAM.com.
Good morning, everyone. We are back. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. It is 7:34 a.m., 21 degrees, going into the mid-30s today. And we have Pat Donahue on the line, founder and executive director of People's Pantry.
Hello, Pat. Hi. Pat, you were starting to tell us about what it's like when you're picking out the food. I loved, again, you're so innovative. You put the person at the center, not the ridiculous rules of 3 squares a day. So can you, do you know what? I'm such a big fan. I have like 3,000 stories with you, which is ridiculous. But at your big fundraiser at Chef Mike's, I was struck by how the chef was able to talk about making a pound of spaghetti last for 3 days for a family. Can you talk about all the different things that you do to help the families besides treating them with respect and having them choose the foods that suit them?
Absolutely. We get in-season produce, for example. And this past, in December, we ended up getting cases and cases and cases of spaghetti squash. Now, my experience with spaghetti squash is you buy it with all the best intention, and then you let it rot on your counter, and then you throw it away.
That's exactly what I do. It's insane.
Exactly. But I reached out, and we started posting in the pantry, buy the spaghetti squash, exactly how to cook it. And once people understood how simple it was, and we had all of the ingredients for that recipe, that spaghetti squash moved. And people came back in a month later and asked, is there any spaghetti squash? So we tried desperately to steer people away from the convenience foods and the processed foods by allowing them to take additional healthy, more nutritionally dense foods. And it seems to be working. It seems to be working. We, as you know, there is a very big link to food insecurity and obesity. And the reason is that cheap food is usually very high in calories and sodium, and there's also the depression that goes along with needing food. So we try to steer people away from the boxed macaroni and cheese or the canned soup, and we post recipes throughout the pantry on how to use the products that we have at that moment to make a healthier choice. So we're hoping to expand that a little bit more, and it's quite the process, because I would prefer a cookie over a whole wheat toast, but so they kind of try to steer me away from the bakery products. So,
they'd have to drag me away, Pat.
But it seems to be working, and it's something that's definitely needed. And hopefully, very soon, when our new facility is built and all of my other 2 nonprofit partners are in place, we'll be able to do more with that. which will be a wonderful thing.
So let's talk about your new place. Why don't we talk about the location and who those two partners are?
Okay, the location is in the Silverton Shopping Center. That's where we are right now. We're in a temporary space right now as we go through the build-out down at the other end. My two partners are the Food Bank of Monmouth and Ocean County is opening an annex here in Ocean County to help supply product to the smaller pantries so they can come in and get what they need for their pantries as opposed to driving up to Neptune. And the food bank is also bringing in a culinary training kitchen where it's a 12-week course, and it's the entree point for someone to be able to get the training and then get a job, which is a beautiful thing. And my other partner is the John Bon Jovi Soul Foundation, where they're bringing in their Soul Kitchen, the model for the Soul Kitchen. And the Soul Kitchen's premise is there are no prices on the menu. The recommended donation is $10 a person. They ask you to pay it forward for the next person who possibly can't afford to pay. And if you can't pay and you volunteer for an hour, you receive your meal for free. These are well-balanced, hot meals made by a chef that is spectacular in a setting where the Soul Foundation's mindset was very much like mine. It is all about the dignity of the person who's in need. And people are treated the same way I treat my clients. So the beautiful part about the Soul Kitchen is, as you know, we were born from Sandy. And the thing that struck me the most, because before anything else, I'm a wife and a mother, so the thing that struck me the most was how fractured families were, how fathers moved closer to their jobs and mothers stayed with neighbors or friends, and high school kids stayed with their friends so they could finish out the school year. And my biggest concern was there's only one time during the day you can sit down and catch up with your children, and that's at dinner. And if everyone is scattered, how do you get back to the table? And John Bon Jovi's Soul Foundation, the Soul Kitchen, will allow people to get back to the table to catch up with their children. And when you look at a society that's got so many issues, and I'm not talking just about Toms River or Ocean County, I'm talking across the world, every society's got issues, and it all comes back to family and to try to shore up families and to get those kids back to the table with their parents. And even if you can only afford $10 a person, that's what it costs to go to fast food restaurants. So it's not a tremendous financial strain. And I urge everyone to go see what's going on up in Red Bank, because it is the most spectacular thing. You see people in need, and you don't know that they're in need because they could be sitting at a table next to the mayor, but they will get up, they will clear their spot, and they will start volunteering to feed other people.
It's extraordinary. So if you put dignity in the center of everything, then everybody elevates. You elevate an entire community. You can, one person at a time. So,
absolutely.
But Pat, you have just been an absolute darling. We adore you. We wish you every success. The People's Pantry, working with 31,000 people that are registered with you, 9,000 to 10,000 meals per month. I mean, it's just incredible what you do. So if anybody has any questions, you can reach Pat. Pat, would you like to give your phone number and website?
The website is www.thepeoplespantry.org. You can reach me by email. It's patricia@thepeoplespantry.org, or visit us on Facebook. And everybody should look at our Facebook page, because that's the true face of who we serve. We have client stories, and it's just remarkable because it's not what you would think, and it's nothing to be afraid of because more often than not, the children sitting in your kids' classroom are suffering in some way or another. Every family's struggling at some point. So
I have seen your updates on Facebook, Pat, and I do encourage everybody to go look at those updates so that you can see what the need truly is. But, Pat, thank you so much for joining us today. We really, really appreciate it. We appreciate you taking the time out of your morning, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And we will be taking a short break. If you'd like to join in the conversation, 732-505-1160. You can listen at 1160 or 1310 a.m. or on your Radio Pup app. We will talk to you soon.